By all accounts, the transition to a global celebrity lifestyle had succeeded. What the Duke of Sussex did not anticipate was that it would end in a total legal defeat. According to reports, the Duke of Sussex is currently in a state of absolute devastation and utter turmoil following a crushing blow delivered by both the British legal system and the Home Office. This development stems from his ongoing battle for state-funded security, which has ended in a definitive and uncompromising rejection. The decisions made by the Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty and Public Figures, widely known as RAVEC, have been upheld in court. Consequently, the Prince is left without the elite level of police protection he has fought so fiercely to reclaim. For a man who chose to distance himself from the inner workings of the British monarchy, this ruling represents a sobering reality check. He abandoned his official duties in pursuit of commercial freedom and global celebrity in California, a move that fundamentally altered his status. Sources close to the situation suggest that the Prince is profoundly distraught, viewing the decision as a personal rejection by the nation he once represented with pride. This legal saga has captivated the British public, drawing widespread attention to the delicate balance between royal heritage and civic duty. It has ignited a fierce debate across the United Kingdom regarding the inherent privileges associated with birth versus the actual responsibilities of public service. Furthermore, the dispute has raised critical questions about the fair and appropriate allocation of taxpayer resources. At the heart of the matter is the Duke's insistence that his safety remains under constant threat. He maintains that both he and his family are in danger whenever they set foot on British soil. His legal team has argued tirelessly that his status as a Prince of the Blood warrants a bespoke security arrangement that mirrors the protection afforded to senior working members of the royal family. However, the counter-argument presented by the Home Office has been unwavering. They assert that royal security is not a status symbol to be enjoyed at the public's expense by those who have voluntarily stepped back from the front lines of duty. The ongoing friction has only highlighted the massive disconnect between the Duke's expectations and the cold, bureaucratic realities of British administrative law. When the Duke and Duchess of Sussex made the announcement in early 2020 that they intended to step back as senior working royals, they set in motion a chain of events that would fundamentally alter their relationship with the state. In doing so, they consciously chose to relinquish the day-to-day responsibilities that come with representing the Crown. Instead, they chose to forge a financially independent path in North America. This historic departure meant that their position within the royal hierarchy shifted dramatically. With that shift came a reassessment of their security needs by RAVEC, the committee responsible for evaluating royal protection. The committee concluded that it was no longer appropriate or justifiable for the British taxpayer to fund 24-hour armed protection for individuals who were no longer active public servants. This decision has been the source of immense friction and resentment for Prince Harry. He has consistently maintained that he did not choose to lose his birthright security, and that the risks he faces have not diminished simply because his job description has changed. The subsequent legal challenges mounted by the Duke have been viewed by critics as an exercise in entitlement. These critics argue that he is attempting to retain the prestigious perks of royalty without fulfilling any of the tedious or demanding obligations that justify such privileges in the eyes of the British public. The recent High Court ruling effectively dismantled the core arguments presented by the Duke's legal representatives. His team had claimed that the decision to strip him of his automatic security was procedural unfairness. They argued that he had not been given the opportunity to make proper representations to the committee before the ruling was implemented. They also suggested that the decision-making process was flawed and infected with irrationality, failing to take into proper account the unique nature of his position. Yet, the court found no evidence of such flaws, concluding instead that RAVEC was entirely justified in its approach. The court determined that the decision was reached through a fair, logical, and lawful process. The judgment made it abundantly clear that individuals cannot expect the state to provide bespoke, tax-funded security services based on their personal desires or past contributions. This legal vindication for the Home Office serves as a massive blow to the prince's long-term strategies. The ruling effectively complicates any future plans he may have harboured for regular, extended visits to his homeland with his family. It reinforces the boundary between those who serve the public and those who have chosen a private, commercial life. This is a distinction that the Duke has seemingly struggled to accept since his relocation to the United States. Moreover, the legal battle has shed light on a particularly contentious aspect of the Duke's demands his offer to personally fund his own police protection. His legal team argued that if the state was unwilling to provide the security free of charge, the Duke should be permitted to pay for the services of specialist armed officers out of his own pocket. This proposal was met with fierce resistance from both the Home Office and senior police leadership. They argued that allowing a private individual to fund police security would set a highly dangerous and unethical precedent. The Metropolitan Police is not a private security firm available for hire by the wealthy and powerful. Its officers are public servants whose duty is to protect the community based on assessed risk, not financial capability. Allowing a wealthy individual to effectively purchase the services of armed police officers would create a two-tier system where safety is a commodity available only to the highest bidder. The court's rejection of this argument was a crucial victory for the principle of equality before the law. It confirmed that royal status does not grant an individual the right to manipulate state institutions for personal convenience. The decision firmly establishes that public police forces cannot be commodified or rented out to private individuals, regardless of their wealth or lineage. The public reaction across the United Kingdom has been overwhelmingly supportive of the court's decision. This reaction reflects a deep-seated frustration with the Duke's perceived hypocrisy and relentless complaints. For years, the British public has watched from afar as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have engaged in a highly publicised campaign of criticism against the royal family. Through their explosive documentary series, their controversial interviews, and the publication of the Duke's deeply personal memoir, Spare, the couple has spared no effort in airing their grievances. They have painted the monarchy as a cold, unsupportive, and dysfunctional institution. To many ordinary citizens who are currently navigating a challenging economic climate marked by a high cost of living, the idea of allocating millions of pounds of taxpayer money to protect a multimillionaire prince is utterly offensive. This is especially true given that he has spent the last several years trashing his family and his country. The prevailing sentiment is that the prince cannot have it both ways. He cannot profit handsomely from his royal connections while simultaneously demanding that the British public subsidise his security needs. The continuous stream of grievances emanating from California has eroded much of the goodwill that the British people once felt toward the charismatic young prince. In the eyes of many, he has been transformed into a figure of petulance and entitlement. The contrast between his lucrative commercial ventures and his demands for public funding has alienated a population that is increasingly sensitive to the fair distribution of state resources. The wider implications of this definitive legal defeat are profound, particularly concerning the ongoing and deeply entrenched rift within the House of Windsor. the security issue has become a major obstacle to any potential reconciliation. It directly affects his relationship with his father, King Charles III, as well as his brother, the Prince of Wales. Whenever the prince has returned to the United Kingdom in recent times, his visits have been remarkably brief, highly tense, and shrouded in secrecy. These security measures are largely due to his persistent anxieties surrounding his safety. Without the assurance of state-funded security, it is highly improbable that the Duchess of Sussex will ever feel comfortable returning to the United Kingdom. It is equally unlikely that their children will have the opportunity to develop any meaningful relationship with their paternal grandfather or their royal cousins. The decision effectively cements the prince's isolation, locking him into his chosen life in California and further distancing him from the historic traditions and duties that defined his early life. This physical distance was highlighted when he flew to London following the announcement of the king's illness. And during this visit, he spent less than an hour in the presence of his father before retreating to a luxury hotel. Within 24 hours of his arrival, he had already departed, returning swiftly to California.